Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. This is the Silent Majority Politics YouTube channel. And before we get started, I would like to ask that if you like the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button and clicking the post notification bell to get updates on our new videos. Today, we will be reacting to a White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, responding to a reporter calling for unity, and at the end, she tells off a CNN reporter to close off of her briefing. With that, we will get started with today's video.
Note is just we talked a lot about transfer of power in the election, and it's worth remembering that this president was never given an orderly transition of power. His presidency was never accepted. In fact, before his election, we know Crossfire Hurricane was launched by Peter Strzok to pursue a baseless allegations about the president's ties with Russia. That's before he was president, trying to subvert the will of the American people. We know in August, Peter Strzok wrote a text message about an insurance policy against a Trump presidency, once again trying to silence the voice of the American people. In 2016, we know in October that there was a FISA warrant taken out to spy on the Trump campaign. And then the American people spoke, and they spoke commandingly in electing President Trump despite all of the odds. And what happened after he was elected? You had 70 lawmakers say we're not coming to his inauguration, Democratic lawmakers. You had Elizabeth Warren saying, we're going to attempt to obstruct the Trump transition by urging the Government Accountability Office to investigate the incoming Trump transition. In January of that year, you had President Obama have a by-the-book meeting where they talked about the Logan Act, using that act to go after Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Just before the inauguration, you had BuzzFeed promoting and publishing this bogus Steele dossier that's been widely debunked. And then for 2 years, you had the basis Mueller investigation, which searched for collusion, found none, and exonerated President Trump. While in 2016, President Trump became the duly elected president, many sought to undermine him, discredit him, delegitimize him, and deny his victory. There were no calls for unity. There were no calls for healing. So while every legal vote is counted, let us not forget the inexcusable transition, or lack thereof, that President Trump had to endure in 2016 and 4 years into his presidency. Thank you, everyone, for the very good and substantive questions today. I don't call an activist.
I'm not an activist, and you have been taking questions since October 1st.
Something that
Okay. I think the most important thing to point out here is the hypocrisy of the mainstream media journalism calling upon unity for the people that for the last 4 years they attacked, tried to ruin their lives, called them baseless names like racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, and etc. All things that are very dangerous words to use to describe somebody when you have no basis to do it. They attacked a president. They never legitimized his candidacy. They, like Press Secretary McEnany said, they spied on his campaign. They tried to obstruct the transition process by a low-life senator who abused the system to get into office and to get into Harvard. They launched a investigation wasting taxpayer money to look into a false basis in a Steele dossier funded by the Clinton campaign. That was all a load of crap, and they never gave President Trump any chance at all. The voters who voted against him never gave him a chance, and that is dangerous. And now those same people are calling on unity. They're calling for Trump supporters to unify with them. They have launched things to try to ruin people who supported the president, who worked for him. His donors, his super PACs are trying to destroy them. They're resulting to fascist actions like blacklisting to do so, and they're the same people who also rioted and destroyed other people's businesses, who want to unify, who want to take away the police, who want to defund the military. Those are the same people calling for unity. And I believe that you should always give each president a chance, no matter what your political beliefs are. But if you're going to attack a president for 4 years, never recognize him as your president, a president who put America first, and now you're asking people to unite for a president who, one, half the time doesn't even know where he's at, doesn't know what office he ran for, who blamed a president for stuff out of his realm of control, and the list goes on and on. You're attacking those same people who voted for him, and but you expect the same thing. It goes back to the liberal side's thing of participation trophies. They're snowflakes. They're allowed to criticize you and tell you what you should think and how you should believe, but once you start questioning them or challenging them, then they shoot you down. They're the same people who are going to hurt this nation with their rhetoric. They don't care about you like they claim to care about you. If anybody is racist, sexist, homophobic, it's the left in this country. When it comes to minorities, they only address their issues once every 4 years when it's election year. If you look at all the major cities in America, they're all Democrat run, and they do nothing to help the minorities in their cities. They don't do any funding. They don't do anything. They don't build infrastructure within their inner cities, within their suburbs. They don't do nothing. But once a president who delivers on his promises gets into office and funds inner cities, stops sex trafficking, or funds to stop it, funds historically black colleges to keep them open, pays the military raises, supports the military, so supplies them with the spending that they need to keep America safe, has kept very good foreign policy, has delivered on all of his promises, but you don't want to legitimize his presidency, but you want the people who voted against Joe Biden to legitimize his presidency when they see the same establishment, the thing that they voted against. Maybe they would be more open to it if you gave President Trump a chance, but it's not going to happen. If you think what you did lashing out against the president was bad, over the next 4 years, watch how bad it's going to be 10 times worse how people aren't going to support Joe Biden. His approval rating is going to tank. His presidency is going to be a failure. You reap what you sow in this country. That's how a lot of people think. It may be dangerous, but it happens on both sides. The people you criticize for the last 4 years do not remember. They're not going to forget what you said to them. Anybody who may be moderate, leaning to the right, or maybe conservative or far right or whatever, if you ever once called them a racist or called them an idiot or called them homophobic or xenophobic or sexist, they remember it. You could have costed them their jobs. And don't worry, they remember it. And if you didn't cost them their jobs and you still said those things to them, or you didn't ruin their life, they still remember it. And over the next 4 years, now you're going to have something to actually cry about when those people, even as dangerous as it may be, will do the same thing to you. they're going to do the same thing to you, and you should expect it and not be shocked when it comes your way, because it's going to happen. 70 almost 74 million people currently, as results have come in, have voted for Donald Trump. That's the most by any incumbent president ever. And that's a lot of people. That's almost 50% of the population who are going to be using the same tactics against you and against your media that you used against them. And don't be shocked when it happens, because you probably have woken a sleeping giant. You have destroyed all credibility that you have. Now people like you say you held people who voted for President Trump accountable. They are now going to be holding you accountable for what happens over these next 4 years. How bad this country may become. And don't worry, there's not going to be any forgiveness when it happens. The people that you betrayed and your fellow Americans that you betrayed over baseless stuff are now going to have actual ammunition to use against in the criticism of President Joe Biden or in the criticism of his supporters. And it's not going to be out of racism. It's not going to be out of hatred. It's going to be out of a sense of wanting to not only get back at you, but pointing out your flaws in your voting and actually showing you what a bad candidate is all about. If you think President Trump was a bad candidate, you're going to be shocked when you see what Joe Biden does to this country. That's how many people feel. And for people who want to criticize him, President Trump, and delegitimize his presidency and claim he's not their president, are now calling for unity, that's hypocrisy. But as we know, over the last 4 years, we've seen that hypocrisy throughout the left in this country, throughout everybody on the left, throughout people who support him, that left base. Yes, the president does have his flaws, and he could be more presidential, but it's not about his temperament, or it's about his policies, what he does in the office. And he put America first, and you voted against that for America last. So for a globalist, for a guy who is going to load his pockets with even more money from the Chinese and from Ukraine. So when it all comes crashing down on the presidency of Joe Biden, you can say, I told you so. Well, if you liked today's video, please leave a comment below. Or if you have any interjections or debates, please leave a comment below. We love to interact with you. And we would like to ask you to please hit the subscribe button. And this has been another episode of the Silent Majority Politics YouTube channel. Thank you.